Morning at NTV. The COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted the workplace, and we are no exception. While the world has quickly begun and has been shifted to a future we all thought it was very distant. And talk to us about this and more, we have Mr. Douglas Opio, the Executive Director of the Federation of Uganda Employers. It's an honor to have you on Morning at NTV.
A pleasure.
Well, I'll take you first forward. Workers and businesses are facing a catastrophe in both developed and underdeveloping countries.
Yes.
That was the warning of the International Labour Organization, if I should be exact. The Director General, that was Guy Ryder. Now, Mr. Pugh, are the employers prepared for this? And tell us about the situation currently in Uganda in terms of statistics. What will our businesses and job casualty list look like post-COVID-19?
Thank you so much. First, the employers, majority of the employers are not prepared for this.
Okay.
Our economy is mainly small and medium enterprise. And most of these, I call them the hand-to-mouth kind of businesses. So they never plan for risk at all. It's, they consider it a necessary cost, which is understandable. They never have any kind of insurance policies. But the small proportion of our economy, the big businesses, generally they have a risk management system.
Okay, what solutions are we looking at? Or what are those helpful that will serve the situation post-COVID-19 with regards to that?
Now, the challenge is the employer is not in a position to provide work at the moment. And what the majority of the employers are trying to do is to try and cut costs. If they cut costs, then they are able to have their working capital intact. Otherwise, if they continue to meet certain costs, then it's very difficult for them. And unfortunately, some of these costs includes even wages as well.
When it talks about wages gets into play, I've had a couple of conversations online and offline where people are worried about their jobs post-COVID-19. Are they going to stay? Are they going to be safe? How strong are they protected? Now you're in the Federation of the Employers. How safe are the employees post-COVID-19? What are some of the strategies you people coming up with to safeguard these people, that in line of what is happening, we still have this for you?
I think the majority of the employees are safe. Why they're safe? Mainly because the activities that their companies are engaged in will be needed post-COVID-19. So essentially, their labor will still be required. But the only risk is that if at this time the company is not capable of managing its cost well, then its ability to resume business might be compromised.
Let's talk about the minimum wage.
Yes.
If I should be exact, the president keeps saying the conversation about the minimum wage will chase away investors, this and that. What is your opinion as a federation on this?
I think a minimum wage in itself is not a bad thing. Everybody deserves a decent wage. But we have to deal with the reality here. I know people are always quoting the president that is talking about it in terms of the investors. But I can tell you, any serious investor, whether it's MTN, Airtel, or the commercial banks, they generally pay a much higher wage. The real problem where the wages are low is in the informal sector. Somebody, for instance, working in a restaurant in Chikubu, how much do they earn? So quite often when we talk about the minimum wage, we forget that those are also the employers. And the majority of our employers are small and medium enterprises. Now, if you fix a minimum wage, let's say at 150,000 shillings, it's these guys who will not be able to pay. Not, for instance, the banks. They already pay way higher than the minimum wage. So the minimum wage, I think, is the wrong discussion to have because you're looking at a very small proportion of the economy. And we are not going to set a minimum wage for the informal sector, which is quite small, maybe just around 10% or even less.
Okay. So try to explain to me, and the viewers actually watching, how having fair wages will chase away investors in the country. Because we have had stories here on NTV where a given farm, it could be from one nation, a foreigner, paying people as less as 500 shillings per day. So when we have fair wages, how does it repel the investors of the country?
I think we are looking at this minimum wage, what level, or a fair wage, what level of the wage will it be? Because if wages takes too much of your investment cost, then perhaps the investment may not be productive. Essentially, if a lot of your costs are going into wages, then you might find it difficult to run. You might find it difficult to procure certain raw materials. You might find it difficult to be competitive in terms of your pricing. So that can be a challenge if the minimum wage is there and it's quite high.
But can we strike a balance that people can be paid fairly? You as a federation, and you champion this fight that people get fair wages, but at the same time we still have investors coming to the country and they invest adequately and the wages are fair, then we strike a win-win. Can we achieve that?
And I want to repeat this again. The reality is that most of the investors, at least the real investors, whether in oil and gas or in the tourism, they're paying decent wages. And in quite a number of them, they also have wages negotiated with the unions. So those wages are a product of collective bargaining. The wages are reasonable. But where the wages are really low is in the informal sector and also in the with the so-called the fake investors. But a real investor doesn't have to be persuaded to pay a decent wage. They understand that if you pretend to pay a worker, the worker also will pretend to work. So it's not productive at all. They want happy employees. They want a high level of productivity. They are there for performance. So for them, it's non-negotiable. They are coming to us asking for salary surveys. What are the wage levels? Even before they enter the market, quite a number of foreign investors, they do come to us and they ask us, what is the labor situation like? What are the general wage levels? What would be realistic for us to pay? So they do all this analysis in advance, even before they enter the market. So,
and Mr. Pugh, do you follow them up to go, if the business is already up and running, do you follow them up to their factories or to their farms to ascertain if they're really following the guidelines you actually give them?
We do that all the time. I just don't want to mention them on air, but we do that all the time. We engage with them, and a lot of those are our members. If you look at, for instance, the top 100 taxpayers in the country, majority of those are our members. So essentially, those who want to comply, those who want to follow the law, they are quick to come to us because they don't want any risk. I can tell you, if you're not managing your employees well, you can have litigations that can shut you down. That wasn't the case previously because we didn't have the industrial court operating, but now we have one. So labor is a real risk when you don't manage it well. Not only a risk, but also is a factor that determines whether you can remain on the market.
As the executive director of the Federation for Employers in Uganda, what are employees not doing right? Because I understand they give you this feedback as well, that much as you want to pay them this much, possibly they are falling below the belt on A, B, C, D, E. What are they not doing right so that when they're done with COVID-19, they come back when they've done a reality therapy and they're in proportion to go and do their best?
Top of this is attitude to work. A lot of employers complain about our employees not being self-driven. They want to be pushed all the time. They don't keep time at all. They are not conscious about results completely, even when they have the competence, even when they have the skills, but the attitude is just not right.
What could be the push factor for the attitude?
I think the way our society is structured, we tend not to have repercussions for poor performance. It's taken in an easy manner, so to say. And that's why in our economy, foreign managers tend to succeed. Why? Because they don't have any relationship with us at all. The relationship they have with us is mainly results. But locally here, they would be complaining, why are you pushing me too much? Or I can give you all sorts of excuses why I wouldn't appear on NTV on time. Yeah, so, but you can't do that with a foreign guy. So yes. That's generally why we think foreign managers are better, but the reality is not the case. Only that we tend to respect them more, and they don't take our crap in any way.
So the issue is attitude, the lack of positive attitude towards work.
That's a major
So if
one.
we fix that, we're sure we can actually have fair wages and things could possibly work better for us?
Yes, because we are already working on the skill side. The government is making certain reforms. Investments are being put in the skills area. Employers are also investing in skills. But no amount of skills can do us any good if our attitudes aren't right, if our values are not appropriate.
Mr. Opio, talking about investing and looking on the other side, let's talk about investing in innovation.
Yes.
As a nation, do you believe we have policies and schemes that are quite enough for Ugandan innovator to succeed in Uganda, if I should be exact that way?
I think we have made some progress, especially with the Uganda Industrial Research Institute. We have also made progress because of establishment of certain institutions like Uganda Development Bank, but we could do more. We could do more because, for instance, I give you an example of somebody who is from the university. Very innovative, very creative. If they came up with a brilliant idea, not long ago we heard about a bloodless test kit for malaria by a student of Makerere University. But to put that on the market, you need a significant level of investment. Not the level that we offer at the moment is good. We give about 25 million. But like you said earlier on, it might need, for instance, $20,000. So for somebody to translate that idea into reality, that could come through government ventures like UDB, for instance, or angel investors. But in the private sector, that is not yet possible. We don't have a lot of angel investors in this economy. So it's a challenge for us to translate those innovations, those creativity into real products. And then not a lot of investments at the moment, even at company levels, not just at the national level, is being put into innovation. A lot of the innovations we are seeing on the market at the moment are product-related innovations. But innovation could be in all sorts of ways, even just the system, the business model, how we approach the market, the management style. So innovation could be more broader, and then we get to implement that.
What you're saying, if I'm picking it right, you're trying to imply that as a nation we have not understood the new wave of the world order with regards to innovation and how the world is rolling up, that the rich people, the rich men you have in this country can say, I'm going to invest in this prototype, and when it gets up, we can have the dividends as a team, or we can share the costs at the end of the day. And how do we move from that to that level where we can understand as a nation?
Yeah. As a nation, first look, for instance, at our stock market. At the moment, we have about 17 or 18 companies listed. That's a very small proportion of companies. So for companies to be able to invest in research, to invest in innovation, you don't borrow it from the banks. Because this research you're investing in might not have results maybe 5 or even 10 years. So first, that's what we need to address. We need to ensure that we develop our capital markets. We develop the stock market. Secondly, we need to have a system in place, even for the private sector, of investment management. Right now, we don't have. We have scattered efforts here and there, but we should be having people who can screen ideas. Young people who have brilliant ideas should be able to pitch to this group and actually get finance. In some countries, this functions quite efficiently, like Israel. You have basically a panel of experts, senior level business men like Bite Ture or the Mulwanas in our case, would sit down and look at these business ideas and actually pick them on the basis of potential. It doesn't matter whether the young person has money or not, but if the ideas are brilliant, and then these would be financed.
Mr. Pugh, have you heard of incidences where brilliant young brains have come up with these ideas and they have laid them before a team of experts like you're suggesting,
Yeah.
and their ideas are taken and amplified by these so-called others, and the person who had the copyright to the idea is never involved after that stage. How do we protect the ideas we have, that even when we come before a committee of such great, brilliant ideas, we're still involved in the process to see them to light?
Yeah, you know, there is what we call copyright protection. And copyright protection doesn't just come at the stage when the idea is on the market. It's patented right from the point of development. Yeah, so you can patent an idea. So even before you get to the panel, that idea can be patented. And if it is patented, then you can actually sue. So it's possible to do this. We have an agency, the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. We have that's the agency that ordinarily would handle issues of patents. So it's possible to protect these ideas even before they're put to the panel.
As you're winding up, everyone is worried, most of them actually, that after COVID-19 they're possibly going to lose their jobs. They're worried they're going to be laid off, or they're going to be paid less and later on be laid off.
Yeah.
In that case, if I'm a Ugandan and I'm laid off, where can I find you, the Federation of Employers? Because you'll actually read through my contract or my agreements with my former employer to actually find me the right action to be taken without emotions.
Thank you. We are located in Kamucha, but we also have another office in the industrial area in Mukono. We have upcountry offices in Lira, Mbarara, and then we also have one in Mbale, another one in Kasese. The Mbarara one, we have temporarily put it on hold. We will reopen it. But you can also contact us through social media.
Okay.
Our website, our Facebook pages, our Twitter as well. But I also want to reemphasize this to the employers. You need to follow due process. I understand the times are hard, but please do follow due process and do engage your employees. We encourage as much as possible. I very much agree with what the president is saying, that consider temporary layoff. Temporary layoff is more
it's more like a pause.
Yeah, it's a pause. It's more cost effective. It's like putting somebody on unpaid leave. So it's more cost effective than termination. Because if I'm terminating, for instance, an employee who has worked with me, let's say for a period of more than 10 years, then I need to tell this person in advance 3 months. Now, if I'm not telling them in advance, I need to pay them for the 3 months. So now, if you're going to pay salaries for 3 months up front to be able to terminate, then it's quite more costly. The better option is temporary layoff, like the president proposed, and then when things normalize, you bring them back.
You can reach them back.
Yeah.
Now, in the state where my contract expired in March this year, when we're still under the lockdown and we're still in the COVID-19, and it so happens that COVID-19 is now gone and I'm back to work. Where do I stand? How do I renegotiate again with employers? Are the employers going to be a little bit considerate as well? Or do I lower my price again or my red card because COVID-19?
I think it's reasonable that we both look at... now, this is a lose-lose situation. Nobody is going to win in this. We can't talk about a win-win situation. So it's important to consider that your employer has actually been making losses as well. The loss is not only on your side, but the employer is not making any money as well. So it would be more reasonable to lower your asking a bit, to lower your demand for wages a bit, and when conditions normalize, because such contracts can be negotiated. I'll start on this wage, but when the situation improves, you pay me this much. So you can negotiate high wage already, but start low, given the current circumstances.
Okay. Oh, that is the Executive Director of the Uganda Federation of Workers, Mr. Opio. He has actually made it much, much more clear. We shouldn't worry post-COVID-19. Our jobs are safe. And not only that, we all need to be a little bit much more flexible and to follow what the President is suggesting, temporarily pose of the workers, but not firing them. That will take us for a break, and we'll be back shortly. It's Morning at NTV.